Okay, today I will be giving a very personal talk, which will be about my personal journey through the unknown, navigating vanishing star research, searching for UAPs, which is unidentified anomalous phenomena, or as you more know them, UFOs, Stigma, and human controversies in the astronomy community. And this is a picture of me as a PhD student holding the universe in my hands. So, something many humans wonder, but especially many astronomers, is whether we are alone in this big, vast universe. It's a question that has been dealt with in a lot of science fiction movies, literature, philosophy, and now also in astronomy research, when we search for civilizations or we search for signs of life out there. And of course, there is a lot of reasons to be very interested and optimistic about this kind of research and to believe that there is life elsewhere. We have like billions of planets similar to the Earth just in the Milky Way. And many of them are within the habitable zone of their host star. We have also found the basic building blocks of life, such like amino acids on meteorites and asteroids. However, so far, no life, not even a microbe, has been found outside the Earth. And to search for intelligent life, which is where my interests are, we have traditionally used radio signals. And since the 1960s, astronomers use radio signals to search for intelligent life. So far, without any success. And, oh, here a small piece of my slides I'll drop, but I will read it for you. There are different ways how we can search for this intelligent life. Personally, I had a different idea as a PhD student when I started this research. So there's a poem by Hausmann. Stars, I have seen them fall, but when they drop and die, no star is lost at all from all the star-sown sky. This poem encaptures something very important about stars. Usually, they either die by fading off during billions of years to white dwarfs, or they die by exploding in a bright supernova. But can a star just one day just vanish and not be there? And this is something that brings together two different research fields that I was very interested in, which is searches for extraterrestrial intelligence and some kind of super interesting technosignatures, as we call them, from a very advanced civilization that could make a star vanish, but also searches for some very unusual events. And here you can see on the left side, the Palomar Observatory, and on the right side, the Pan-STARRS Observatory. And in the 50s, the Palomar was taking lots of images of the sky. And you can see it was done on photographic plates and old technology. And today, it's done with a much more sensitive technique, CCD images. So in 2020, we published 100 mysterious images that weren't star that vanishes, but there were some kind of brief flashes that you can find on one plate and you couldn't see them again. And we were trying to understand, what are we seeing? And here we see an example of an object in the 1950s that you never find again. And to do so, we created a citizen science project. And actually, that particular example I found manually by looking through 23,000 images myself. But in order to handle all the other 150,000 candidates, we had this citizen science project where people could go and they could help. And it was open to the public to go there and look at these images from Mount Palomar and Pan-STARRS and search for vanishing objects. And so this citizen science project, we have been working on a lot. Oh, now there are some pieces missing of the images, but we have been working a lot with schools, with amateur astronomy societies, primarily in Nigeria and in Algeria. And so this has been a very exciting effort because we connect to students and amateur astronomers and university students at all kind of levels in their education, like both from the very young ones, even to kindergarten aged, and to the university age. And it's been a really, really exciting journey for me. But one day we found something really weird. And we found something that shouldn't be there. We found 9 stars that you can see in the green circles that were there on the left image in Mount Palomar on the 12th of April, 1950, and that you could never see again. And they appeared and vanished within this kind of, within the exposure time of the plates, so within 50 minutes. And this became like super peculiar. And I discovered this image in the last week of February, the same time, 2020, the same time as the COVID pandemic had just started. And I was just like, what is happening? And I was sitting there with my office mate in Spain, and I was at that time a postdoc at IIC Tenerife. And I was just wondering, so what is it? What are we seeing? And in order to solve this mystery, because I really try to do different kind of tests. What is this weird example of these 9 stars that are there and not there later? I contacted Dr. Geoffrey Marcy, who is a pioneer in exoplanet research. He was also the discoverer of the first 70 out of 100 exoplanets. He discovered the first planetary system around the sun-like star, and he confirmed very quickly the exoplanet discovery made by Didier Queloz and Michel Mayor. And he actually received, Jeff received the Shaw Prize, which is the Asian Nobel Prize, they call it, in 2005, shared with the Nobel Prize winner Michel Mayor. He won lots of wonderful awards for his research, and he was nominated for the Nobel Prize until 2019. So Jeff also was very important in starting up the Breakthrough Listen program, which is a $100 million program to search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And he got Yuri Milner donating $100 million to search for intelligent life. And he was the project leader. Unfortunately, a few months after, a scandal erupted around sexual harassment accusations. So, was there any known astronomical phenomenon that could explain this finding? No, we couldn't explain it with any known astronomical phenomenon. Some kind of instrumental issues. Well, we couldn't identify any clear instrumental issue that would explain these 9 stars there and vanished. We were wondering further, could there be some kind of nuclear fallout from secret atomic bomb tests? Well, on the 12th of April, 1950, and actually in the whole 1950, there were no known atomic bomb tests in the United States, and I'm no conspiracy theorist. So now we kind of started getting out of options. So this is when we found one hypothesis, when we found that possibly these short flashes could come from that you have some kind of non-human or extraterrestrial satellites in orbit around the Earth in 1950. Because this is 7 years before Sputnik 1. And if you would use the same instrumentation to look at the sky today, you would see millions, you would see thousands of these flashes on the sky every hour, simply because you have so much of space debris. And they are flat and they are highly reflective materials. And then you get these fast flashes. And what we saw then could potentially be something like that, maybe. We formed that as a hypothesis. It's just that, again, it's 7 years before Sputnik 1, so this is super, super exciting for us. And the paper got published in Scientific Reports in the beginning of June 2021. So what was the reaction when we published this paper? What was the reaction of my astronomy colleagues? Because I was nervous. And this also came at the time when Pentagon started talking about UFOs. And they made a very famous report in 2021 where they talked about that multiple UFO cases could not be explained because they were seeing these UFOs across multiple sensors, much of the data classified. Both pilots and ground-based personnel report encounters with this kind of unknown aircraft. UFOs must be taken seriously. And all this coincides in June 2021. So yes, what was the reaction of the astronomy community, and in particular the SETI astronomers? Here's a first reaction. I think I will have to, well, I will not zoom out. But we had a social media storm. This was before I got a Twitter account, so I couldn't reply anything. And here's an example tweet where my name is circled there, and then there is why the F. I will not say loudly the profanity, but why the F does the exoplanet community keep doing this? Why women? Yes, women participate in rape culture. There's also a call. Is the press gonna cover or what? So yes, so now I'm accused for participating in rape culture. I will keep the people who have written various things anonymous for the sake of dignity of everyone. So Nature, apparently on the 27th of May, just a few days before we got our paper accepted, actually writes about that the National Academy of Sciences in the United States has just expelled Jeff following the harassment complaints from 2015. So 6 years have passed, but now 6 years later, suddenly there is a problem with collaborating with Jeff. Despite that he published 70 papers with various collaborators in these times without issues, now there's a problem. And another group gets attacked, and now we get attacked for working with Jeff. So first are the astrobites who make an official statement where they refer to our Nature paper, and that they say that, and they make a statement about harassment and how upset they are that people are collaborating with Jeff still, and that they will not be supporting or promoting our work. There is a lot of like tweets going around about that one should not be citing or promoting my paper. So I also get rejected from a workshop, or my talk gets rejected from a workshop at Penn State. I may still attend, but I cannot give a talk. And they write to me on the 30th of June, 2021. After the assignment of presentation slots, the committee learned that your recent paper published in Nature Scientific Reports that directly relates to your proposed presentation. As the second author on this paper has violated these codes, we have withdrawn your invitation to present Searches for Vanishing Stars with VASCO. Now, the interesting thing here is that I had not even mentioned the scientific reports paper in my abstract. It was a general abstract where I had wished to present the, what's called the Citizen Science Project. Anyway, they refer to the Code of Conduct. And here they have written the unacceptable behavior, and you can see here at the end that there is a new point that is not having the same, what's called formatting as all the other points, even because it was probably so impulsively included, and where they make it unacceptable to promote the work of those who have violated professional code of ethics. For example, the AAS Code of Ethics. Promotion of an author's work includes any verbal or visual presentation, including that person's name or likeness. In cases where the participant's work is sufficiently scientifically independent from that of the person who has violated the professional code, the work may be presented so long as the presenter is not engaging in promotion. Citations are not violations of this policy, though all participants should weigh the necessity of presenting the citation with the harm that it could perpetrate. So the same thing happens with the SETI news. Actually, it's again someone from Penn State that sends me the email where it's written, as for SETI news, that is a curated resource we provide as a service to the community. And we have decided that we don't want to use it to promote Geoff Marcy's work. This isn't to say that we won't include any papers he has contributed to, but this paper has him as second author. And since I know his style well, I can tell he had a heavy hand in it. So now I'm even accused for not having written my own paper, despite that I was writing it and doing like most of the work. Yes. So, so this is not only myself's work that was influenced when this happened, but there was actually a bunch of people in the collaboration, in the VASCO collaboration, whose work wasn't presented from representing 4 continents. But we go on. And at the same time as these things happened, I also was very excited about the possibility to search for ET probes in photographic plates, because photographic plates that are predating Sputnik 1 are like a time machine. So by going back and watching these photographic plates, and if you see something that looks like an artificial satellite, you know you might have something that is an ET probe. And that is a pristine sky, not like all these super contaminated sky that we have today. We had some predicted signatures of extraterrestrial probes. For example, multiple transients, as you can see that you see multiple of them, or that you see a triple transient, or better, if you see several of them in a line, and we calculated with this on statistics and try to estimate like how many in a line do you need in order for it to be sufficiently separated from any kind of weird plate defect. Funnily enough, we did find 2 exciting examples that were statistically significant. One from the 6th of August, 1954, with a probability of 0.003. And another even more beautiful that you can see here, where you see 5 along a narrow stripe, happening on the 27th of July, 1952, and with a probability of 1 in 10,000. Now, this paper, we submitted it, and it got instead met with the stigma of the UFOs. Many journals are terrified to touch the UFO topic, and they get nervous if they get this kind of paper in their inbox. So one won't even get to the case of review in some cases, because the editor might reject it in 5 minutes just by the topic. But that's a stigma, and that I hope will be resolved with time. Things were also going quite fine for me that time period. In some ways at the same time, because I got the International Rising Talents Prize from the L'Oréal UNESCO. And however, my contract towards the end of 22 was about to expire, and I started getting stipends instead of salary. So I was also applying for a number of grants, like the ERC or the Swedish Research Council grant. And I also moved back to Uppsala in September 2022. So that was a time with a big change in my life. So here in 2022, I'm also applying for a position at the affiliate position at the SETI Institute, which allows you to apply for grants and donation, and it looks like a really good thing. Unfortunately, I receive a message that, as such, we could not, for example, put forward a proposal that includes Jeff as a co-investigator to any public or private funding or organization, nor could we publish a paper on our website, nor advocate for publication of any other platforms or journals, a paper including Jeff as co-author. So with other words, if I want to collaborate, if I want to be affiliated to the SETI Institute, I must break with Jeff as a collaborator. Of course, I cannot do that because I really believe in human rights, and this is something really important to me. And I also believe in academic freedom. So I announced that I withdraw my application. Another thing happens next semester, sorry, not next semester, but in next month. And that is that I cannot, due to the respect to all the people involved, and because I have received an official apology, I cannot describe it. But there was something happening around that I invited Joff for something where people were so angry that they put allegations on me. I got threats and intimidation during a formal meeting, and the whole thing got into such a high level of stress that after a couple of weeks, I one day had such a bad chest pain that I couldn't breathe. And I ended up at emergency, where I spent some 10 hours with all kind of tests, AKG, CT scans, and all kind of things, and doctors checking me immediately, blood samples. And just after 10 hours that they asked me, has there been any moment of stress in your life recently? So but thankfully I received an official apology after this. So, but that was also a moment that was a turning point for me, because I realized that I cannot anymore be silent all the time when things happen to me. I have to react also. Anyway, life moves on, and I think maybe this after all is simpler with. So life moves on, and a lot of good things also happen. I give a TEDx talk in Zurich. I meet wonderful people who are supportive and who help me in various very important ways. And very excitingly, my team discovers, Enrique Tutsolano and the team discovers a triple transient, where you see 3 stars that appear and vanish within this 15 minutes of an exposure time. And again, you cannot explain. It's like the previous case. It's just much brighter, much clearer, and much more difficult to argue against. Later in the same year, it gets published in the MNRAS. But a couple of weeks after, we also find that there is something funny about these things. We had already written down the draft of the paper when a friend pointed out, did you actually discover some very fun thing, that your famous triple transient happens on the date of the most famous flyover over Washington? And we say, okay, well, it could be a coincidence, but it was still there on that particular date. And when he tells me that, I start wondering, how about the other examples we had? Like, let's say these 2 statistically significant candidates we had from the paper we uploaded to arXiv previous year. Could they also kind of match with some of these famous flyovers? And of course, the best candidate did also match the 27th of July, because apparently in 1952, during 2 consecutive weekends, on the 19th of July and 27th of July, there were there was the most famous UFO sightings probably during the last 100 years over Washington. And it was so big that even the US Air Force had to go up and make a special press conference, as it was seen by many witnesses, and also on radars, and even fighter jets were hunting the UFOs. So this was a very, very fun coincidence that we are still looking into to try to figure out, is it a coincidence or is it something more? On the other side of the pond, around Easter, happened unfortunately something sad. So there was this exoplanet team that published a paper together with Jeff Marcy that unfortunately they got under huge social media attacks. Jeff Marcy was doing a very important work here with both the data and with developing the code. But over social media, there was a lot of anger. So they got messages such as that to defend or affiliate with Jeff Marcy in any way should be an academic kiss of death. And there were people calling for influencing the committee of the first author, who was an assistant professor at that time. And Science Journal publishes a very humiliating article with this headline: "After outcry, disgraced sexual harasser removed from astronomy manuscripts." Here is where someone I think is very heroic, Lawrence Krauss, enters and writes a response in Quillettes called "Campus Puritans Come for an Astronomer," and his byline. And it was a very important article, in my opinion, discussing this issue of how the social media mob forces to remove co-authors. And I myself also at this moment give up, because I have contacted the American Astronomical Society, and I was also contacted the International Astronomical Union, and I published an essay where I describe my experience. And luckily, the IAU replies by updating the code of conduct to stop the kind of harassment that both me and Lauren have been experiencing, and to also forbid this kind of discrimination for members of IAU. I think this is a wonderful thing. However, of course, there are some people that are really upset, and the same person who wrote about that I was part of rape culture also is upset on anyone who defends me and writes, for example, this: "If you guys are going to confess in broad daylight that you don't see the problem with this, then let me make sure people know about you." And she retweets him with his name. So the reactions are not very nice from a small, loud minority. I, however, get this very nice Courage Award, so I feel a little bit better. Nature Journal, however, publishes a paper. Of course, they don't talk about the negative and mean things written in the social media, but they're focusing on writing an article, Astronomy Society Revises Harassment Policy After Outcry, which is, of course, slightly biased in the direction, in my opinion, of the people who wanted to have the right to write rape culture also. Well, this is my interpretation. So read yourself the article and form your own opinion. And also there is the main responsible professor who was responsible both for the SETI newsletter and also the code of contacts that at the Penn State SETI Center also writes a blog post explaining why they had banned my presentation. Meanwhile, the most exciting things in the world are happening, because at US Congress now several whistleblowers come there and talk about that they have interviewed and they have seen UFOs. And David Grush has interviewed 30 or 40 people who have been working directly with crash retrieval programs and crashed UFOs. And I'm soon near an end of my talk, so what do? I've luckily received support to start the so-called ExoProbe project, where we do near-Earth searches for ET probes, spaceships, and artifacts near the Earth, where we are planning to set up a network of telescopes with multiple telescopes, where simply we will be looking for these kind of flashes that we think we might have seen in these images from 1950s, but look at the sky today and get rid of all the satellites and human satellites. Anyway, that was the end of my chapter in the SETI community. I have left the SETI community list because there were so many things that I couldn't even mention in this talk that happened that just felt really bad. I just could mention a few. And that chapter is closed, and a new chapter has begun for me with UFO research, as we are destigmatizing the UFO topic. There have been many exciting things happening, like a fantastic conference at Stanford by the Sol Foundation, where I attended and gave an invited talk. The European Parliament had a meeting about UFOs in March. And there's a new chapter now starting now around this UFO world, and I hope to enjoy this research and help to figure out what are UFOs and if there are any non-human intelligence that are in contact with the Earthlings, as some people are telling us. So let's see where it leads. Thank you.